Serial killers don't stop unless they're caught. What happened to him?
Welcome to Watch Mojo. And today we're looking at 10 serial killers that are still active.
It's a crime spree that has drawn little attention in Chicago until now.
For this list, we'll be looking at killers who have managed to evade capture since they first popped up on police radar, and who might still be on the prowl today. Which of these chills you the most? Let us know in the comments. The Eastbound Strangler. In November 2006, 4 bodies were found in a drainage ditch near Atlantic City, New Jersey.
In November 2006, the bodies of these 4 women were discovered behind the Golden Key Motel in Egg Harbor Township, their shoes and socks missing.
They were later identified as Barbara Brighter, Molly Jean Diltz, Kim Raffo, and Tracy Ann Roberts, 4 women who earned a living as sex workers in the area. The women appeared to have been strangled, with their bodies lined up in a row, facing east. For these reasons, their killer was given the name the Eastbound Strangler.
The media called the killer the Eastbound Strangler, and no one's ever been arrested and charged with this crime.
Multiple suspects were quickly identified, but DNA evidence retrieved from the crime scene cleared them all of the murders. Despite a $25,000 reward, the Eastbound Strangler has never been found and probably still walks free today.
When it comes to serial killers, there is nothing scarier than knowing that there is an attacker out there who's killed multiple women according to his profile and has not been identified or even caught.
The Danilovsky Maniac. Also referred as the Maniac with Dull Eyes, based on a vague description of him, the Danilovsky Maniac was responsible for the deaths of at least 7 women between 2004 and 2007. The Maniac targeted women in the Russian city of Cherepovets, killing 3 of them in an abandoned building on Danilovsky Street, hence the nickname. He is believed to have been active since as far back as 1999 and was possibly responsible for another murder in 2010. Even with around 200 people being interrogated and a reward of 500,000 rubles on the table, the identity of the Maniac has remained unknown. The Rainbow Maniac. Between February 2007 and August 2008, the city of Carapicuíba in Sao Paulo, Brazil, was rocked with a string of murders that have gone unsolved to this day.
Brazil's gay scene is the most vibrant in Latin America. But the conservative influence of the Catholic Church means it remains mostly underground.
During that period, 13 gay men between the ages of 20 and 40 were sent to their early graves by a serial killer now referred to as the Rainbow Maniac. All of these crimes occurred at Poturi's Park, a location that was frequented by gay men in the area. This led police to believe that the crimes were motivated by homophobic sentiments.
He doesn't like the gay community. That is the chief reason for this kind of killings.
Investigation by the authorities led to the arrest of Jairo Francisco Franco, a retired police officer. But after a trial in 2011, Franco was found not guilty and acquitted of the crimes.
Gay groups are outraged the crimes went without investigation for so long.
The Sleepy Hollow Killer. The metropolitan city of Pietermaritzburg in KwaZulu-Natal, South Africa, was terrorized by a serial killer in the late 1990s. Dubbed the Sleepy Hollow Killer, this individual targeted women in the area, killing at least 13 of them and dumping their bodies near the busy N3 highway. His victims were all found to have been assaulted and strangled with their own undergarments. After about a decade of apparent inactivity, the Sleepy Hollow Killer appeared to arise from his slumber. In 2007, the bodies of 3 women who had been murdered in the same fashion were discovered around the same highway. This time, however, the perpetrator had burnt the corpses beyond recognition. To date, the Sleepy Hollow Killer has never been identified. The Belize Ripper. The first victim of the Belize Ripper was the young Shirley Nicholas, who went missing on September 8, 1998. Her body was found about a month later, wearing the clothes of another girl who had disappeared 2 days prior.
It was 8th of September, my daughter, Shirley Nicholas, went to school and she didn't return.
Nicholas's murder sent shockwaves through Belize and was the first of 5 deaths attributed to this serial killer. 2 major suspects were investigated.
it was evident that there was a serial killer lurking in the old capital.
The first, Michael Williams, was exonerated after one of his victims went missing while he was in police custody.
A Belize City mechanic, Michael Williams, was arrested and charged, but due to insufficient evidence, the then 40-year-old resident was exonerated of the crime.
The second, Lonnie David Franklin Jr., an American serial killer dubbed the Grim Sleeper, was believed to have been in Belize around the same time of the murders. However, he died in 2020 before he could ever be charged with the crimes. The I-70 Killer. The Interstate 70 highway is one of the longest in the U.S., connecting multiple states between Utah and Maryland. In 1992, this route became the hunting ground of a dangerous individual known as the I-70 Killer.
Well, this particular person is mobile, is quite obvious, so that makes it very difficult to catch someone like that. But we do have the capability of comparing our notes with those of the investigators in other cities.
The confirmed cases attributed to him include the deaths of 6 people who worked in convenience stores along the highway. Most of the victims were young brunette women.
These drawers contain thousands of names, possible connections to a 1992 crime spree that left 6 people dead across 3 states.
The one exception was Michael McCown, the I-70 killer's only male victim, and it is believed that his murder was a case of mistaken identity. Even with 2 police sketches and a detailed physical description, investigators have never been able to identify any suspect in this case.
I'd say most tips right now are people that know someone or have seen someone that resembles the composite.
The Jeff Davis 8 Killer. In the mid to late 2000s, the Jefferson Davis Parish in Louisiana was thrust into the national spotlight due to a string of unsolved murders.
A large investigation was launched to solve the mystery, but still no answers, just mounting frustration among some in the community.
8 women, known as the Jeff Davis 8s, were killed and dumped in swamps and canals around the city of Jennings over a 4-year period.
A fisherman made the first gruesome discovery May 20th, 2005, in a canal off Highway 1126.
The connection between the cases is striking, as all 8 victims were discovered to have known each other quite well, with 2 of them being cousins. The victims, at some point in their lives, had also acted as police informants and even reported on each other. This led some of their families to believe that police were somehow involved in their deaths.
While information is hard to come by, many believe the answers are on the streets, in the circles these girls travel, by day and by night.
That theory was further supported by the 2016 book, Murder in the Bayou. The Chicago Strangler. The deaths of at least 50 women in the south and west sides of Chicago between 2001 and 2018 have left police puzzled for years.
What does your algorithm show you about pattern killings in Chicago?
The algorithm is signaling red alert that there have been far too many strangulation murders, mostly of African American women whose crimes went unsolved.
A majority of the victims shared some similarities. They were mostly black female sex workers in the area and had previous run-ins with the law. Because most of them were strangled to death, their yet-to-be-identified killer or killers earned the nickname the Chicago Strangler.
It's unknown whether the murders are connected, but for years, many in the community have believed a serial killer is preying on poor and disenfranchised women.
While some of the cases have been solved and closed, a number of them still remain cold to this day. A task force set up in 2019 to re-examine the case reported no evidence proving that it was necessarily the work of a single perpetrator.
When you hear about like 2 bodies, you think you're nuts. When it gets to 6 and you're hearing stories about other bodies, you start to think that probably not the most common method of settling a drug dispute, right? Like this isn't someone got shot.
The West Mesa Bone Collector. In February 2009, Christine Ross took her dog on a walk by the West Mesa in Albuquerque, New Mexico, when the dog stumbled on a human femur. This led to the discovery of bones belonging to 11 deceased women that had been buried.
Their bodies were in shallow graves, scattered across a 100-acre plot of land being prepared for development. Almost all of the women were Hispanic.
After nearly 1 year, police finally succeeded in identifying the victims, all of whom had been reported missing between 2003 and 2004.
For the families of the victims, it's been a long wait for justice.
The killings have been attributed to a single unidentified serial killer, dubbed the West Mesa Bone Collector. But police also suspect the involvement of a trafficking ring. Either way, no suspects have been charged with the crimes, so the identity of the individual or individuals responsible still remains a mystery.
We have eliminated many suspects. At this time, there are a number of people who are being investigated as persons of interest.
Thompson didn't go into detail on the other suspects, but did say most of them have stemmed from tips.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. The Long Island Serial Killer. When 24-year-old Shannon Gilbert disappeared in May 2010, police conducted a search for her along the Ocean Parkway in Long Island, New York. While their search failed to turn up Gilbert, what they did find were the remains of 4 other women.
And the surprises kept coming.
I'm called, and Chief, we found another set of remains. They find another one, and another one. We were dealing with a serial killer.
What started out as an investigation into one woman's whereabouts turned into a hunt for a rampaging maniac, the Long Island Serial Killer. Over the next few months, police found more remains belonging to 6 other people.
So far, 11 bodies have been discovered. 4 of them now officially listed as victims of this serial killer that's been dubbed the Long Island Ripper.
The killer mostly targeted sex workers who put up ads on Craigslist. The lengthy investigation has put forth multiple suspects and persons of interest. But with no arrests made, the Long Island serial killer may very well still be on the prowl.
A very complex case, but I can tell you that we are fully committed to this investigation.
What I want most is answers and justice, and I also want that the world to know, like, my sister mattered.
Check out these other clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.